Thinking is hard. And
we're back.
My name is Josh, and I'm here with my beautiful wife,
Bailey.
And welcome to season two of E.T.C.
Woohoo!
As you can see, our production value has increased
a
one
few
and
dollars.
a half fold. We found this neat sign at Michael's.
Yep. Unfortunately, you can't really see it on your end, but it is really nice. It's really, really nice. And
the problem
unfortunately, it's just not bright, and it's not good on the video at all.
Yeah, well, currently it's night, so there's not enough light to like wash it out. So this light is just too bright. So
when we film an episode during the day, maybe next time, maybe it'll look better. But yeah, we've literally tried to put a piece of paper under it too to make it look better. But I think it's nighttime.
One of these days we'll figure it out.
Yep.
But welcome back to E.T.C. We're excited to be back. We got a big lineup of good ideas for season 2. Got them all. We're organized this time. We're not making it up as we go.
Yeah, we're not making it up as we go. That's the funniest thing.
I mean, still, but we at least have some idea of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have you back, and this will be coming out on July 2nd. So happy early 4th of July.
Yes. Happy early 4th of July, Independence Day. Woohoo!
And our first topic of season 2 is concerts and music festivals, because we just went to
Coldplay.
I think it was last weekend.
Yep, it was last weekend. It was really, really good. It was probably the best show I've ever been to. So it was, I think the only downside was it was super hot out and there were people passing out. You know, the Florida heat, it can get really bad. And I think our first instance with it was, we were literally, in line?
Yeah, we were in line for like maybe 10 minutes.
And a girl like maybe a little left to us in the field just like dropped to the ground. And we're like, what? What's going on?
Yeah, she was like stumbling, and then they took her over to the side, and then some paramedics and then other people showed up and took her.
Her friend took care of her.
Took her off.
I'm sure her friend was upset, but
yeah.
I honestly think that half the people that were passing out were day drinking.
Probably. They had didn't drink water with that, which if you drink and then go out in the sun, you're going to get dehydrated. 96
degrees, feeling like 105 that day.
It was hot.
I wore jeans, man. And I remember hearing the girl next to me being like, thank God I didn't wear jeans. And I was like, she looking right at me like, I wore jeans. I literally wore jeans. So, yeah.
So I guess that kind of brings us into today's topic, and that is horror stories at concerts and festivals. So for us, it was more kind of a horror story because it was so hot. We were standing in the sun in line for I think 3 hours.
No, it was luckily less than that.
Okay,
it was about
it felt like 3 hours.
It was about 2 hours. So we thought the gates opened at 5.
I think 5:30. Yeah.
5 or 5:30. I thought it was 5 because I remember I was like, we have to get there at 4 p.m. We have to get off work, blah, blah, blah. So we get there at literally 4.
Yep.
Like 4 o'clock, and we park, and we're pretty close. And so we walk over, and there's already a little bit of a line, and we're like, that's okay. And then we realized that the people behind us were like, okay, it's 5 o'clock. Is it opening yet? And then I was like, uh-oh. And it opened at 6:30, right?
Yeah, because we didn't find out when it opened until one of the workers came by and finally told everyone that they were opening at 6:30.
Yeah, and it hit like 5:30. We're like, okay, they're probably opening soon, and then we heard it was like another hour, and we're like, oh,
yeah,
shoot. And by then the line was all the way in the back. So
the line was I'm glad we got there when we did. I'm glad we
got there when we did,
despite the fact that the sun was awful.
You know what's funny is, there was a storm earlier in the day that cooled off, and then as soon as that storm was gone, it was immediately like back to the heat. When that cloud lifted over and the sun came back out, it was so hot. Like, I was sweating. I'm so sorry. I literally had Josh go get my water bottle, and I should have drank it all before, but he went to go get my water bottle because I was literally feeling like I was going to pass out, and I thought I drank enough water. Apparently not. So
I think we spent $20 of water on water that night.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. On a side note, we did spend money, quite a bit of money on water, but I drank 2 things of water, almost 2. I think you drank the.
You didn't finish the second cup.
I didn't finish the second cup, but then again there was confetti in my second cup.
I protected it.
So I didn't have to pee the whole time, and even when I got home and I went pee, it was orange. Sorry,
Yeah,
it was orange.
We were super dehydrated through that entire thing.
It was so.
I
But
can
you
only
know
imagine
what?
the people that were drinking, how bad they were.
I know. Oh my gosh. And there was a fight in front of us too. The drunk guy was yelling at the like two ladies because they bumped into each other,
Yeah.
and he got really mad because the girl was like, "Oh, just scoot over. Like just scoot cuz you guys are like running in." They were drunkenly running into them. So I can understand their like annoyance with them, like, "Hey, just scoot a little bit. Like you can have a little bit more room to move around." But they were literally bumping into everyone, and he had the audacity to just yell at them. So
Yeah.
he was screaming at them. He's like, F you, and F you. That's all I got to say. And I was like, geez.
Here we are complaining about the best concert you've ever been to.
It was literally the best concert. It was worth literally the heat. It was worth the hassle. It was worth everything. It was so good. Like, I've never been to a more interactive concert in my life. Like, I think the best part was when they were playing Yellow, and they were like, you know, look at the stars, and there was star confetti. Like, how does it not get better than that?
Well, all the wristbands. So everyone that went into the
That
stadium
too.
got this like LED wristband, and it would change colors throughout the concert. They didn't have them for every song, but pretty much most of the songs, except for like 2 or 3,
Weird.
would light up with. And so before they even started any of the notes of the song, all of the wristbands turned yellow, and the stadium erupted.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
And I still think to this day that they were like, like area coded. I don't know if that makes sense, but like there was a point in the concert where there were hearts. Like using the wristbands, it made a heart in the stadium. And I guess we can include a clip if you guys are watching the video one. If not, I'll kind of explain as best I can. But the wristbands that we were given all turned red during a certain song, and only some people had them off. And it was like certain sections to make the heart.
Yeah.
And I still to this day think that it was just like there were sections in each part of the stadium, and they just shut those sections off. Because I know your argument is like they were given, how do they know which band they're given or something? But I think it's just the section that they're in.
Well, they had a big bucket
Like they
of
just chose
wristbands.
a section to just shut that section off, you know?
Yeah, at the entrances, they had these giant like tubs of wristbands. They were just handing them out like candy.
Yeah,
So-
they're, and I thought that was so cool. You know what I thought? I thought
You
when
did
I
have
saw
to turn them back in, though. At
You
the end of
did.
it.
I'm
They made sure
sure.
you got them back in.
I'm sure
So.
some people took
Oh
them.
yeah,
But in
I mean,
Tampa,
there's no
those,
point. They're not going to work when you bring them home anyway.
those
so.
guards, that's true. I guess it's a memorabilia thing,
Yeah.
but the guards were like, slow down, stop running. The concert hasn't started
Oh yeah,
yet.
trying to slow everyone down to get in.
The concert really didn't get too packed until 8.
Just
Like,
like
that's when
halfway through her,
Yeah.
who was one of the 2 openers they had.
I kept telling Josh, and I don't know why I kept thinking this. I was like, this concert's not going to be sold out. And sure enough, literally every seat was
filled.
taken by the time it was 9 o'clock when they started.
Yep.
It was every single seat. So, and I kind of forgot that the openers did take a lot more time, like an hour and a half. And also, they wanted to start their concert at
Yep.
night,
Yeah,
like literally at night.
because
So,
then the LEDs make sense.
so, you know. But yeah, the next concert we go to is in August, which I'm sure it'll be twice as hot
Oh boy,
then.
but it's inside. No,
But
it's not.
It's at the same
It's at
stadium.
the same stadium.
And I will be wearing a dress. This time I will not be wearing jeans. I will probably wear like a swimsuit underneath or something.
I'll just go naked
Yeah, if I could, I would. I really would.
and just bring a spray bottle and spray myself off when I
Yeah.
get hot.
Gosh. It's crazy how hot it is. But
Oh yeah,
August will definitely be very hot. But we're going to see The Weeknd. So I'm really
Very
excited
cool.
for that.
yeah.
It's super cool to be able to see the top 3 bands in a span of like a year. So the first one we went to go see was Maroon 5 in September, and they were really good. They were like number 2 on my list. They were pretty high up there, and I knew like every single song that they sang the whole time. And then we saw Coldplay, and they were number 1 on my list. I've been watching them since like 2008, I think is when I discovered them. And then I get to see The Weeknd, which right now he's my number 3. I really like his music. Like the whole album is so good. So yeah, we're going to see him. So yeah.
Yeah.
Any concerts that you want to see in the future? Anything that you're interested in seeing?
So I I like music, but I can't say I'm a super huge concert fan because I'm not a huge fan of crowds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a personal preference, being all super close to people and super loud music. I think next time we go to a concert, I think I'm going to bring earplugs.
I remember you saying that too.
But I think I would like to see maybe either mute, like there's a few people I'd like to see, but I wouldn't like be on the floor. Like I would, I'd want to get a seat or something.
Yeah.
Probably Muse, maybe Poppy if she comes.
Oh, she's funky.
There's a couple others that I can't think of right now. Like I have some smaller like EDM artists that I'd like to see, but I don't know if they're ever going to go on tour in Tampa or something like that. So
kind of a side note, but we were on the floor for the Coldplay concert. Like we chose to be on the floor, but that same day one of our friends texted me and said, would you guys like to sit in the suite with us and like get free food and drinks and all that? And I was like, oh, Josh is gonna hate me so much because I'm gonna say no, because it's like, it's a band that I really want to see. Like I really want to be close to them.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad we went that route because they did say that their bands weren't working. Half the time they weren't working inside of the suite. They had to go outside to make them work. So, but they had AC, they had food, water, so it's kind of a win, win, and then like a semi-lose.
Yeah. They didn't have phones in front of their face most of the concert.
Gosh, yeah. But it was still a vibe. The whole floor was a vibe. So
it was fun.
Minus the passing out, that was the most. But then one of our family members actually went and she said someone threw up. So I'm glad I didn't see any of that. But anyway, some of the bands that I want to go see next, I would go see Muse. I think I only know one or two songs though.
They're good.
But I do like them. As silly as it sounds, I guess, I would like to go see U2. I think they're good. I don't know if they're ever going to tour. They're kind of fun. They remind me of like a really happy day. Yeah, anyway. It gives you like happy vibes. So they're alternative, kind of like Coldplay. So, and then I would like to go see an EDM artist. His name is Sick Ick, and he just came here last Saturday. What's funny is I was scrolling through Instagram and I was like, dude, like he just came out with a new song that he just remixed and it was really good. And I looked on his stories. I'm like, I wish he would come here. And then he 2 days.
Was there, it was like 2 days after that.
2 days after that. And I was like, oh, we could go. I mean, it's $20 general admission and like $50 for VIP or whatever. But we had already made plans with my mom to go see a movie. So we'll catch him next time. I'm sure he'll be touring bigger next time. Honestly, he's so good. Like everything that he's made, I would not listen to a song. The only thing about his music is that it's not on Spotify or anything. There's like one song of his. Everything else is on Instagram. And it's only like a 30-second snippet. And it's so mean because it's like you have to go see him live,
Yeah. I think the issue is he does a lot of remixes, so he may not have the rights to use all that music on Spotify, so that's probably why.
And he kind of reminds me of like a new version of Marshmello. Because Marshmello has a mask and everything like that, and he does too, so like you don't even know who he is. Mm-hmm. But it's just really cool. Like, I don't know. I want to see him for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do we want to talk about the horror stories or do we want to?
Oh, so going into EDM festivals, I personally have never been to an EDM festival. I really want to go to E.T.C, which is called Electronic Daisy Carnival, and it's in Orlando. But, it's like a 3-4 day festival. You see a bunch of EDM artists, really, really good stuff. There's carnival rides. It's really fun. So, and you get to take photos and plan your outfits. I don't know what's better than that. So, to me, at least.
I can think of a few things.
Yeah. And Disney's like nearby. Hello, it's in Orlando, so you can go anywhere. But yeah, I would like to go sometime. But there are some pretty terrible stories about festivals, though. And I remember you and I watched a documentary about some crazy stuff that happened at festivals. So, do
you want to talk about the most recent one, the Astroworld?
Oh
nonsense?
Gosh,
I don't have any details on that, but I do have some older festivals that I did some research on.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about those later.
Yeah. So the Astroworld Festival, it literally lasted a day. I think it started on Thursday or Friday night, I believe. And I can't remember what city it was in.
Neither can I.
You know what? It was in Texas.
Was it in Texas?
It was in Texas. And
because it was outside Austin.
Yep, it was in Texas. And I remember seeing videos on TikTok. It was like nonstop the next day on Saturday. All it was Travis Scott.
Yep.
And it was people running through the gates. Like, I think they had just checked their stuff in, and they were just running through the gates, just trying to be at the front of the line, trying to be the front of the concert. And unfortunately, the space that they had was not big enough. I don't even think it wasn't big enough. I just think that there were just so many people, and there were 2 gates on both sides of where they were. So the left side had a giant fence gate, and then the other one had a giant fence gate, like kind of a metal gate. And there was no space to move. So everyone was just crowding around it. And there was plenty of stuff to do from what I saw outside of the concert. But of course, when Travis Scott is playing, you want to be where he's playing. You don't want to be in the back. You want to be in the front, right?
Right.
And it was just chaos, the whole time. I don't think I saw a lick of just calm,
I mean, a
partying.
concert or festival will be a sort of chaos, but I think the issue was the crush, which is basically what is called a bunch of people squishing into one area.
A mosh pit.
A mosh pit is when people are beating each other up, physically fighting.
That's kind of what it was, though. Did you see some of those videos?
Probably.
They were like,
but a crush is when you have a bunch of people that are, pushing up against a wall or trying to fit through a door, and you just have so many bodies squished together that you cannot breathe. So
and people
I have a story about that too. So
people had brought their young kids with them, and
so
unfortunately it left 9 people dead and a ton injured. There were paramedics everywhere. The other thing I saw was when the paramedics were trying to come through, and they were coming through, the people were getting on top of the cars
because Travis Scott was not helping. He would just continue playing, and
I've read
he'd yell at the people.
Yeah, so. And I've read the ones going against Travis Scott. I've read the ones going for him, for people saying he was stopping the concert. But I still believe he didn't do enough. Someone, and this wasn't his first rodeo at this, by the way. I'm pretty sure he had this happen to him a year or two.
He has a track record of not being great.
Chaos.
Yeah, of inciting. I wouldn't say violence, but not great actions. So.
Yeah. And on TikTok, it was actually described from some of his, props or just stuff that he was playing on the screen to be demonic.
That's funny.
And sacrificial. People were literally gasping for air in somewhere where the air was just being taken up. And a lot of people were sharing pictures of demonic things that also were symbolism to his concert. And it was, I don't know, I kind of want to believe it, but then again, I don't want to be one of those people that's that's true,
so
he do be doing some demonic stuff, I don't want to be one of those people. But
that's the thing about, I guess you could say, alternate music, or music that's trying to go against the
Weeknd
grain.
Got that.
That they will do that on purpose because it's against the grain. It's alternate. It's whatever. So during the 80s, rock bands were demonized. And so those rock bands were sure. Yeah.
Oh
rock
my God.
on. And so that's where this came from.
Can we talk about that one part we saw where they switched the wording and when they played it backwards?
Oh yeah. I forgot what band that was. I think it was AC/DC.
I don't know, but
there was a song. There's hundreds of songs. I'm sure if you play them backwards and listen close enough and with the volume in a certain way, you can probably hear some backwards words
that you want to interpret yourself.
Things. So
people were interpreting things. They were definitely interpreting things, and I remember the band lead singer or whatever. He was it was hard enough to write it the first time. You think I want to write it backwards?
Yeah. Yeah. So it would not surprise me if in his in Travis Scott's creation of the concert, he included some demonic symbols because that's cool, that gets you excited, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's
you
not,
don't see it on the
it's
norm.
not actually going to summon a demon or suck the air from your lungs. It's literally just there because it's cool. That's it. That they did it in the 80s with rock bands. They weren't actually doing anything awful. They just thought it was cool,
Yeah.
you know? So a lot of alternate or against the grain bands will do that just because it's cool. It sells.
On to the next festival. I would like to talk about the Fire Festival.
I think I've seen a number of
That is the one where
YouTube
social media
documentaries on it.
influencers
Yep.
and like models and stuff like advertised it, and they didn't really know what they were advertising.
Yep.
They were just kind of like doing a shoot with what's his name? Cool.
I can't remember that guy's name.
I cannot remember his name. Not Ray J. Oh, what's LL Cool J?
No.
No?
Let me look it up.
Hold
Fire
on.
Festival.
Yeah, who is it by? Ja Rule.
Ja Rule.
Ja Rule. I said LL Cool J. Is that even a person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Billy
okay.
Billy McFarland.
That
and
guy is
Ja Rule.
Ja Rule dropped out.
More or
From
less.
what I sort of. But McFarland, he was way in over his head. He was trying to do some stuff behind. I'm pretty sure he like ran away too at the end.
There's a big story about Billy. He has a reputation for fraud, more or less. He initially got his money from like a credit card sort of situation. It was like a club credit card, like you had to be in to get the credit card. So that means, everybody will suddenly wants it. And it would give you certain perks, like you'd get discounts at certain like high-end places and stuff like that. And even that was sort of a scam or fraud anyway. So he was already scamming people to get his money to purchase an island that was going to be used for the Fire Festival, which on paper sounded fantastic. You were going to get these fantastic bands going off onto a private island, and all the guests would be able to live in these tents and bungalows and have VIP access to certain things and have everything on a wristband, so you don't have to carry cash around. And all on paper, it sounds fantastic. But Billy did not follow up with these properly. So, like, the island itself was to be purchased from some drug cartel, like ex-drug cartel person. However, when the person that was going to sell it to them figured out that it was going to be used for this, high-profile thing, they canceled the sale because they didn't want the island, being put on the news and stuff like that. So Billy had to get, I think he went to the Dominican Republic to put the Fire Festival on. It wasn't even on on its own private island. It was on, it was right next to a resort. Like a 10-minute walk from a resort, basically, and they were just on a beach, and everything was thrown together at last minute. I bet if we were to look into this Wikipedia page, maybe Bahamas.
On Great Exuma.
Great Exuma.
Just north of
That's
the
right.
Sandals
So,
Resort.
Yeah, just north of the Sandals Resort.
And isn't that wasn't nothing on that island?
So no, there was the Sandals Resort, but then there was just a blank beach.
Right, there was nothing
empty
there.
Beach, trashy beach. And
It
so
was beautiful.
they showed up
it was beautiful,
a couple
but
weeks
it was,
before.
When you have thousands of people, it's not going to be luxurious anymore.
Yeah, you have to build infrastructure, and they didn't have time to do
No
that.
way.
So nor did they really have the
God.
money.
And it's just overall, it was terrible. And it was awful for the influencers too. I remember seeing Kendall Jenner, I think was for sure. She was one of them.
Oh, they earned that. I don't feel sorry for them
I
at all.
feel sorry because they had no idea what they were posting.
Well,
they were just getting paid. There was no evidence. There was nothing to look up until afterwards.
I wouldn't accept it.
They were just getting into their career. I would have accepted it. But I just feel bad because, they shouldn't have had to go through that. They had no idea what they were signing up for. But they were tagged on the label when it happened. And, a lot of people distrusted them, which I do understand. I mean, to be honest, I don't really trust any influencer these days. But back in 2016, why not? There a brand new cool festival was coming out. Instagram, Snapchat, they were all really big things. So it was a great advertising platform, and it just was a shit show.
It fell apart because of poor planning.
What was it? Didn't a storm come through and completely the night before ruined literally anything that you they had tents and stuff.
They had
food, at least
they had
water.
Humanitarian aid tents. So they had gotten them from FEMA or something, purchased them as excess from FEMA.
Which is not what you're supposed to use that for.
No.
At all. You know.
I mean, it basically became a humanitarian aid.
It did.
Thankfully, no one was severely injured or dead, killed.
I mean, dehydrated, yes.
I mean, they were thankfully
Hungry,
not
yes.
too far from civilization, so if anything bad was to happen.
And I won't trash on the influencers, but I will kind of trash on some of the people that fell for it, because these people had thousands of dollars. They were young, 20-something-year-olds, never really, I don't know, they were.
I know, but
they were
I
rich.
cannot blame them.
You can't blame them for falling for that?
I mean, I still don't agree that they, that it's a good deal.
It was not a good deal. But they, it was just kind of sad, but also, it's funny because you say that you don't feel bad for the influencers, and I feel bad for the people who paid for that. But they had all the money anyway, but they were stuck, and that was the worst thing that's ever happened to them. They've never had to worry about where they needed to stay, have food, water.
But the thing is, some of those people spent all the money they had to go there.
They did?
Some of them did. That was
Why?
literally all of the money they had, because it was a promise of shelter, food, and a good time. And that was enough for them to go, I'm young, I can make this money back when I come back. So I'm going to go off and spend all my money on this trip.
Yeah, I guess.
And then they end up getting stranded
YOLO
in the Bahamas.
was big back then.
Yeah. But it just goes to show that planning is far more important than I think a lot of concert people realize, how much planning goes into it. I've got 2 stories of 2 other concerts that, due to poor planning, did not go so well. So I guess if we start with the oldest first. So everyone knows Woodstock, which is a whole other thing. I don't think anyone died during Woodstock, but it was a complete... It was done well only because it had good planning. It had months of planning. There were definitely parts of it that were awful, like the mud pit that was just full of human feces and other disease. But no one really remembers that because it was not a complete disaster. There was only portions of it that could be ignored. Now, there was another concert after that, I think called the Altamont Free Concert. And this was done in 1969 by the Rolling Stones. And the Rolling Stones wanted to make basically another Woodstock, but on, I think it was the West Coast. And they were doing this because their fans had been complaining about how expensive the Rolling Stones tickets were. So the Rolling Stones got teamed up with Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, and a few other artists to host a free concert in California. So while Woodstock had months of planning, the Altamont concert had maybe a few weeks, maybe 5 to 6 weeks of planning. And they went from one venue to another. I think the first one was at a college. The college turned them down. And then it went to, I think, a stadium. The stadium turned them down. Then it went to a racetrack. That racetrack turned them down. So they went to another racetrack. And they had to move from the first racetrack to the second within 2 days because the concert was in 2 days. So they had already started building all of their stages and stuff at the first racetrack, and then they had to move everything to the Altamont Speedway in a day. So a lot of the amenities were missing. And since this was a free concert, they couldn't charge, they didn't have much money to work with. For security, they hired the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. And allegedly, they hired them with $500 worth of beer and a promise of a good show.
Mood. That's
all it took.
That's a good deal.
And
$500 back then
was quite a bit. In 1969, $500
worth of beer.
Equivalent
to $3,000.
That's a lot of beer.
How big was the Hells Angel crew?
It was pretty big at the time. They were a big outlaw.
How big? How many people?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, I was gonna say. How much is
probably 100 or so, if not more.
Okay.
So
1 beer each.
No.
Just kidding.
Just some guy standing next to the big case of beer, just here, 1.
Dang.
1. No, that's all you get. 1.
A good show.
So it didn't start off great because the way the stage was set up, it was basically at the bottom of a hill. So everyone was kind of like slowly getting closer and closer to it, and people started showing up like at midnight the night before, basically. So when the crew woke up to get the stage ready in the morning, there were already people waiting for the show to start. And so when they start building like the scaffolding to put on the spotlights, people just started climbing the scaffolding to get good spots to see the stage.
Mood.
Yeah.
Mood. That's terrible.
And before the bands had really even started, the Hells Angels were already beating people with pool cues and stuff.
Oh no.
Basically. So
they were already.
Yeah, people were already getting injured before the show even really started.
Oh jeez.
And pretty much every band that went on had to stop after a few songs to get the people to calm down. And eventually, when the Rolling Stones went on, Mick Jagger, I think was the singer, tried to get everyone to sit down to chill out.
I don't blame him.
So,
yeah.
And I can't remember exactly when, but one of the concert goers wanted to get closer to the stage, so he climbed up on top of one of the speakers. At this point, the Hells Angels doing security pulled him down, and there was a struggle, and the guy actually had a gun in his jacket. And when he pulled it out, he was stabbed to death by one of the Hells Angels.
Oh, man.
And he was pronounced dead on scene. And that was the first of 4 deaths at that concert.
He was taking the gun out to make sure it didn't, get him?
No, to probably shoot to defend himself.
Dang.
So he brought a gun to this free concert. And
did they have any security?
The Hells Angels.
Well, to get into the concert like they do now, they check your stuff.
Oh no, it was a free concert. Totally free. You could just show up.
I mean, I'm sure it was going to be a shit show then anyway.
Yeah. So that was the first death of the concert, and I'm pretty sure it just basically ended after that. I mean, the next 2 deaths were in a car hit and run, and I guess the 2 people driving the vehicle were killed. Wow. And then the 4th and final death was an individual who drowned in an irrigation ditch after taking too much LSD. So the entire concert was deemed a complete and utter failure, mainly because of planning. They didn't give themselves enough time to plan out this concert in a way that it would work out like Woodstock.
To put it in your perspective, I guess, that's like planning a wedding in 5 weeks.
If that. And you're expecting it to go great. You have no venue. You're expecting tens of thousands of people to show up.
2022. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a celebrity, I was going to say if you're a celebrity and you have tons of guests, it might be a little hard. But if you're just an average Joe planning a wedding,
yeah,
you're not going to get the venue you want, the food, the 5 weeks. You're going to be having hot dogs in your backyard and store-bought cake, which does not sound bad. It's not a bad deal. You're still getting married to the person you love. But yeah, just an equivalent to getting married in 5 weeks, planning that in 5 weeks. You just got engaged, last week? You're getting married July 22nd.
Yep.
Yeah, 3-4 weeks, 5 weeks, Yep. It's crazy.
And to put in perspective the mood of the crowd basically throughout the entire concert, when Mick Jagger got off the helicopter when he arrived, a concert goer came up to him, punched him square in the face, and insulted him and went back. Yeah.
Why?
Because it was just so awful, because the Hells Angels were absolutely just beating the crowd into submission.
Oh, I thought you said prior to the Rolling Stones coming.
I mean, he arrived at the concert in a helicopter and was punched square in the face whenever he got there.
Yikes. Wow.
So
imagine them you thinking that they were approaching hey, oh my god, I'm so excited. Boom. Boom.
Square in the nose.
Dang.
So I guess that kind of falls on the Rolling Stones for not giving themselves enough time.
Yeah. But they're still really great.
Yeah. So the next concert that I listened to, because I was listening to a YouTuber called Fascinating Horror, he does a lot of great videos. I'll leave a link to him somewhere.
Horror.
The next concert I listened to was the Who concert in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I can't remember what year. But when the Who was doing their world tour not way back, but a while back. And this tour took them to Cincinnati, Ohio. And what had happened was the concert goers were told that they could enter the concert hall stadium
Mm-hmm.
at I think 3. So people were showing up at like 1
Of
p.m.
course. As
Getting
you
in line
should.
because the tickets were like first come first serve seating.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got there first, you could sit in the front row, that sort of thing. So people would get there hours before it opened
I bet.
just to get good seats. And so people had already lined up before 3, and then 3 came and went because the stadium was not ready yet. They were still doing preps and sound checks and stuff. And on one of the last sound checks they did, people at the back of the line thought the concert was starting because they heard the Who playing.
Oh my gosh. Get
So
out of here.
they started pushing forward. And there's tens of
no.
thousands of people outside these doors. So you have tens of thousands of people pushing against the people in the front of the doors.
And pushing.
And when the only 2 of the who knows how many doors that they had at the stadium opened, you had tens of thousands of people trying to squeeze through 2 doors. Now, imagine a double wide door, not just 2 of those, and with tens of thousands of people trying to get through them. So this created a huge crush. And to describe what it was like, imagine you are surrounded by people on every side. You cannot breathe because your hands are up in the air.
Yeah.
You're looking up to get air.
Yeah.
You're surrounded on every side, and everyone's pressing against you, sliding against you. And there's so many people and so much heat.
Ugh.
There is a visible fog above you. Yeah.
That's
it was,
so gross.
It was that bad.
Do you remember what year?
I don't. I'll have to look that up.
And the best way to breathe,
found
actually, I learned this in cross country. The best way to breathe after you run is to actually lift your arms. So they were really trying to do the right thing.
Well, no, because you couldn't put your arms down. Because if you did, your arms would get crushed.
So everyone
by
was
people
like
around
walking
you.
like this.
Like, well, because they couldn't put their arms down.
Hey, Bill!
They couldn't. You literally were so close to each other that if your arms were up, you could not bring them down because there were too many people in your way.
I would have kept my arms down.
Well, then you'd be like stuck
your
like
ribs
this.
and everything. No, I would have been like, you know?
Well, I'm sure other people. Then
my little chicken
other people will
wings.
do that right back.
I would have done it, but at least I would have had a weapon, because now they're stuck like this.
I mean, they're still not going to help.
Can't breathe. You're squeezing your ribs and your.
So it was.
Did anyone die?
It was 1979, and 11 people died.
Oh man.
So, and to add to that image of you being surrounded by people, you're walking on people. Like you can literally, as you're slowly moving forward, you can literally feel, but you can't see them because there are so many people. You cannot look down.
No, I literally would die.
And you feel you're stepping on people. So at the end of the evening, or at the end of the giant mass of people getting through, 11 people had died, and they didn't know how many had died like right off the bat because the dead bodies were literally stuck in the crowd standing up.
No.
Yeah, it was that bad. So I
think they said something like that for Travis Scott concert too.
You could be standing like, arms up, barely able to breathe, and the guy next to you is not breathing.
Wait,
and you
how
wouldn't
did
know
you not lose
and
them
you would not
when you're walking in the venue though?
When the bodies would just fall over, and people would say, "Oh shit, he fell over."
How hot was it? Do you know
I think it was in the winter, but still.
Oh my god.
So, 11 people died, and at the end of all of these thousands of people getting into the stadium, because they all wanted to get in because they paid for these tickets.
Oh, I understand. I guess.
When most of the people had gotten in, there were thousands of shoes, hundreds of wallets, IDs, just things in people's pockets that had literally been ripped off of them, and 11 bodies that were either trampled and like broken bones, trampled, or suffocated. So, and there was blood all over the floor too because when you stepped on people. So, yeah,
running on people.
And the thing is, they did not close the concert. They kept on with the concert.
Did they know?
The Who, the band, did not know until they'd finished their last song. And their reasoning behind not telling them was because if they had gotten everyone into the concert venue, into the stadium,
it would have been twice as many people dying.
Awful trying to get all of them out.
Yeah.
Especially now that they're angered by the fact that they paid and now have to leave.
Yeah.
So they just played the concert, the the stadium owners made the concert go on and then told The Who afterwards. And The Who, I think, is still like mourning their deaths to this day. There's a plaque outside the stadium, and all of the blame pretty much fell on the stadium in the first place because
on the stadium, not the band.
Yes, because
Okay,
the band didn't have anything to do with it.
They were putting on a show?
Yeah, they booked the venue, and the venue was supposed to handle managing of the crowd.
Yeah.
The venue had booked too many seats and were known for booking way too many seats for their venue. And also, the method of selling tickets, where it's like a first come, first serve, actually was banned in Ohio after that. And so now you were assigned a seat so that it would prevent these crushes.
And that it can prevent having oversell.
That too, yeah.
Because
so that's the new standard. That's the new standard for most concerts is individual seating. That's where it really came from, is from the 11 deaths in 1979.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, these days it's not so much the bands that are at fault, but they can incite. They can
take a hit.
Yeah, the bands can like encourage this behavior. But a lot of the time it's the organizers. And it's those that don't do enough planning, or on the day of, their execution is poor. So for Travis Scott's concert, I believe most of the blame falls upon the organizers of the concert.
Yeah.
However, some does certainly fall on Travis.
Yeah. He used the same organizers that he did for the one that he also had chaos at. Yeah. If it were me and I had chaos at the prior one, I would not be scheduling a festival.
They're probably
Mind
cheap.
you, the prior one, he scheduled a concert, I'm pretty sure just a regular concert.
Yep.
This one was a whole festival, think EDM, but just Travis Scott and a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
A bunch of the rappers, R&B, anyone he wanted to invite for like 3 days. It's like a 3-4 day festival, just like you would think.
Yeah.
Same people. Did not even last a day.
Wow.
I hope he doesn't do that again.
Yeah, I mean,
go with them again at least. Whether it's his fault or not, he does not need to be working with them again.
Yeah. In the situation of like the Rolling Stones back in the 60s, it falls upon Rolling Stones only because they were part of the organization. They were a part of organizing that venue and that event. Mick Jagger did his best to try and calm them down, but they had hired the Hells Angels, which had no problem killing people.
Yeah.
As security, and they had built everything in less than a day. So there was no planning done whatsoever. So that's the only reason it falls upon the Rolling Stones, is because they had no organization done ahead of time. So just it goes to show that if you don't plan something and don't give you enough time to plan, then it's not going to go well.
Yeah,
not at all.
Don't expect it to go very good at all.
So to end this episode on a high note, do some planning. Like, take your time. If you got something big coming up, don't be afraid to plan, and actually do plan like ahead of time, and don't be afraid to push something off. Yeah. So you always got time. Time is going by fast, but you got time to plan it and do it right. So if you're a big artist and you're listening to us for some strange reason,
weird,
take your time in planning your festival.
Yeah,
it will pay
or
off.
your concert,
or
please.
your concert. Yes.
That's all we ask. Because if any of our friends go to these, or if we go to these, we would want to come out or go in safely. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I think that ends our first episode of season 2.
Yeah. Catch us next week for another awesome episode of
E.T.C.
E.T.C. Bye.
Bye.